So good afternoon, everyone. Let me kind of get started before I go into a different mode. Let's look at the quiz. So I'll try and take it, make sure everything is okay, well, in Blackboard. This asks, which of the following, position, orientation, shape, or color, can show extend the best? So 4 would appear twice as something as 2. Um, so it shows 0, so relative amounts. So in this case, the best one to show extent, 3 is, or 6 would be 3 times as 2 show up in there. It's going to be the position. That's on an axis. That's the best way to show it. So orientation, shape, and color are probably shape is probably the worst. Orientation is probably right after position, and then color before shape. And question number 2. So what are the main elements that describe a visual structure for a computer visualization? For a regular visualization, we're going to have spatial substrate marks and retinal properties. But computers, they're also a temporal aspect, interactive, however you wanna see it. So that should have been the right answer there. So types of data, a map of some sort is going to be geospatial, so it's going to be B. Abstract concept, what we're doing in this class, information visualization, so it's going to be C. And then presentation of a physical object like a storm, or it's going to be A, scientific. So considering the following data, 1, 3, 4, 5, it looks numeric. It can be actual real numbers, or it can be whole numbers, so it may not be anything between 1 or 3, but the question is, what's the least appropriate one? So if we have something from nominal data, these are definitely not numbers. We can see at least an order. So that's the right answer. For ordinal data may be good, because like I said, the question doesn't really tell you if there's anything in between 1 and 3. And techniques for quantitative data can also work. So, but the ones for nominal data are going to be the worst. And there is overlap. And then on this one, it's all of them. If any of you had looked command prompt, that's one way to look at computers without any visualization, folders on a computer. You can explore those if you have no graphical. But obviously nowadays, we use some sort of a visualization to look at folders. And even the word folder kind of comes from a metaphor to the physical folder that we have, where we put files in it. A map of New York subway is like that. Again, it's not showing to scale. It's not necessarily a map. It's more like showing all the stops. A cell phone and TV coverage of the football game that was yesterday. So yes, you probably saw some data points in there, like number of timeouts left, what's the score, and things like those. Sometimes even statistics, they will pop up. But definitely the number of timeouts, score, time left, fourth down, things like those are going to be in that visualization. So all of them were probably the right answer. So let's click OK and make sure I got all of them. Okay, so that's one out of 1. So that was quiz number 1. I think everything else I can do in this mode. So rest of the announcements, you probably noticed I posted the teams. I haven't heard anything back, so I think I took everybody's options into account. We are an odd number of students right now this semester, so one of the teams had to be 3, kind of all randomly picked. So Team F, you're 3 students, but everybody else is just 2. like I said, the best way to find students, if you go to your email and start typing the name, it should pop up. Sometimes if the name is really common, you may have two people with the same name, just send me an email and I will disambiguate that, who each student is. But what you I expect you kind of start getting in contact with your partner. So the team is really a partner. It's kind of easier to work with one person than with two, but sometimes it all depends on the teams. And for the first two teams, I think A and B, if you look through the project, so next week, so in 7 days, we're on the 10th right now. So in what I expect on the 17th, again, I know it's a week, but I don't want it on Wednesday, I want it on Monday. So think of it as Sunday evening event. Just give me a video describing, like I said, this is a completion grade. I'm not judging. What I'm trying to kind of figure out what you're doing. These are some suggestions to put in there. I'm not going to hold you to them. If you have more pertinent information to put in there, that's also fine. But I want you to think about whether you have the data, whether you have the tools, and then put yourself in terms of a user who's trying to use that tool. How would they use it? Do they have enough information? Do they need more information? Do you need more data? Things like those kind of, some questions to kind of get you started for the proposal. And we're using this kind of rolling thing. So teams A and B are going to be due next Monday. Again, I don't want to spend a long time. This way, we spend a few more minutes for each team, and then we move on. And then on February 24th, so 2 weeks from today, I have teams C and D. And then on March 3rd, so every week there will be some other teams until everybody is done. So that's kind of what. This is for the project. So this is a team presentation. So for the project also, you can turn it through here. This allows unlimited submissions. So you can turn your stuff in through here. For some people, sometimes do email. Like I'm not too picky on this one, but if it's a video, it may not fit in an email. Whatever works. If it gets to me before class, so I can kind of play it in class and discuss it in class. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So next time you're going to have some concrete examples of these proposals. In the meantime, even if you're not due, I still suggest don't wait 3 weeks to get it started. Every team should get it started. It's just I don't want it right now, and you can kind of change it. All teams are going to finish at the same time on May 5th. So that's keep that in mind. So that's coming up, and part of the announcements later. Maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll send that email, what's due this week, kind of keep you up to date. As far as things that we're covering this week of February 10th, so we're continuing lecture 2 from 15 to, I'm not sure if that's the end, but we're going to 39. And then here I have some talk about it. And they have really good videos and good tutorials on their web pages. People tend to use Tableau and Power BI. I know we talked about data being nominal, categorical, and nominal and categorical is the same. Nominal, ordinal, and quantitative. They kind of look at it slightly differently. They're still going to be nominal, and they kind of take numerical and different. Some of them are measures. Each of them has a slightly different. It's not like if you understand how Tableau thinks of the data, you understand how Power BI is going to be slightly different also. And then you can kind of get, I just put it there. A lot of times with these automatic tools, I feel like fighting a water mattress. I push on one side and it goes up on the other. So if I try to keep both of them or maybe like a guacamole, I try something to fix something and something else gets messed up. So unless you're going to get really frustrated with them, you're going to be fighting that machine that keeps doing stuff for you, a lot of stuff. You want it to do a single thing and it does 10. You need to understand how they view data and how they treat it, how they treat dimensions. So that would be it doesn't matter which tool you're using, just if you're coding and you're only doing one thing at a time, so there are some tools that allow you one step at a time, that's a different technique, but there are some of these that they want to automate everything, and you make one change and then it changes 5 other things. So that's keep that in mind. So I have this slide kind of in here a little bit, just getting you ready for maybe the upcoming homework. And again, everything we're doing this week is going to be inside lecture 2. It should show up in here. And let's see, quizzes already went over it. So homework and discussion. Let's spend some time on this. Here is kind of how it looks like right now. And if you click on it, it will give you more information. Notice, here's the thing. If you want to submit this, it's kind of hidden. I had people especially. So first of all, let me start with the most important plea. I'm begging you, turn it in on Sunday. Don't wait until Monday. Think of it as if it's due on Sunday, because if something happens, I cannot turn back time. Once everybody gets their peer review, I cannot touch this. So once 305 happens a week from today, I'm done. I cannot, Blackboard won't let me change anything from that point on. So I cannot add a thing, I cannot do anything. So that's why if something doesn't work, if you need tech support, if you cannot upload, you need to contact them on Monday and make sure that they can help. Most of the time it's going to be your browser. So change the computer, change the browser if that doesn't work. But make sure you have something uploaded on Sunday. If you have, then you have an idea, you want to make it a little bit better, you can always replace it. You can always go back and replace it. Now, to submit, and I put this question 1 here, you need to click on this question 1. It's not that obvious. Unless you kind of happen to mouse over it, it's not going to be that obvious how to turn it in. So it's question 1, you need to click on it. And then it will show exactly the same thing, except that you can turn in your file. I think for the most part, I would attach a file because it has to be heavily visual if you want to keep your formatting and everything. It's probably the best technique, just browse local files and attach something. So for example, I can attach something and it will put it here, and then I can click submit. And it goes ahead and it said, you know, it shows that I submitted the assignment. So if you look at this status, it says completed. It's a little bit, but the best way, if you ever, actually I recommend that after you submit, go back and make sure you can see that file. So I would click back on question 1 and make sure there is a file attached. If there's a file attached and you see mark for removal, you're good. It's already there. If you want to replace it with something else, I can put that in and I mark this for removal and hit submit, and then lecture 2 will go away and I'll have chapter 3 in there. And again, if I go and check, should be able to see chapter 3. Submit it there. So like I said, you can change it all the way to 305, but don't wait until 305. The other thing that may happen, FYI, if I mark this for removal and I hit submit, there's nothing submitted right now, but the assignment, it will still tell me completed. Okay, so the complete happens when you hit submit button, even if you submit nothing. It's kind of weird, but I did not code that particular. I do not code for Blackboard. I did not design their interface. So now if you go back and you look, there's nothing attached to this here. I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so that was kind of the mechanics. First of all, this question one is really important. Second, in order to check that you actually submitted something, go back in and check, and then hit cancel and get out of it. Now let's talk about the content. So I just made up this company. There's always a multinational software company all over the world, and they want to employ drones, whatever. And the first step is for them to adopt 2 or 3 candidates. It's not for you to tell them what to do, it's to help them with this process. So you are not making a recommendation, they will decide for themselves. In fact, somewhere in there, I even say that it should allow them this to be presented to their manager, data experts, to discuss, compare, discuss. Because there may be multiple departments, each may work something else. So this way, this gives a way to kind of compare and contrast what they have and where to go. Again, nowhere in there is you making the choice for them. You just need to facilitate their discussion, their decision making through your visualization. So just build visualization. They will be used by them, and they want to kind of have quick, complete, and general view of the properties of this software. This is sometimes Wikipedia has very detailed tables, and I have to pull. There's too much for this homework, and I pull columns out of it. This time, it's a fairly decent table, and I basically said use everything. So that's why you see this here, but that means everything. So let's go look at this web page. And here is the table. And it has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it only has 11 rows. And then the size of the data is 11, and how many columns? That would be the dimension of the data set is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. So it's it's manageable. You can do that by hand almost. You can draw stuff by hand if you want it. I'm not saying you should, but it's up to you. And this type of table all mirrors a lot of information we sometimes get. If you want to buy a dishwasher, and you're looking through different models, you would look at something like this. Sometimes even cars, like different options, different packages of the same car. How do they call it? I forgot. It's the same car, the same name, but it's an EX and an XS, whatever they call it. And they have all of these comparison for you to pick, to look at. So that's why I picked it out. So everything in here, in this table, could be used. So only information from the table. Please keep it level, the playing level, or keep a level playing field. Everybody uses the same information, so don't go searching the web for other stuff and bring it into this. Just use only this information. References are not required. So basically, you see there's a 1 here, there's a 1 here. The managers, everybody decided they don't care about those. There's a citation needed here. They don't want to see that. Just ignore all those. That's what I mean by references. So the ones whatever else, whatever other references are there. There aren't that many, but you can ignore them. Citation needed and 1 seems to be the only one right now. Apparently there's a 2, 3, and 4, but I somehow did not see them. So ignore those square brackets. That's all there is. So for the most part, assume your audience has a basic familiarity. So more for managers than for experts. They're not gonna, because we're gonna have a basic familiarity with what they mean. Almost doesn't matter what they mean. They just need to see that information. So use anything, any graphics package. And for this one, I hope you're going to experience, unless you happen to run on the Magic packet the first time, or the Magic software tool the first time you try it. But I do expect you to try a few things and kind of, some of them, like I said, very quickly, you're going to rule them out. So I have visualization toolkits here for you to kind of get started. You can search the web, find different tools. Some of them work in the browser, others you have to download, others are programming if you're so inclined. So it all depends on your preference, but before you know your preference, I do expect this homework, maybe you're exploring a little bit kind of the universe out there. In addition, if you have an idea on how to do this, you may draw your own visualization. Like you can use Paint, you can use PowerPoint, you can use Figma, your favorite Sketchpad, whatever sketching tool you have. You could try and do this because there aren't that many things. There's only 11 rows and only 13 columns there. So if you still have no inspiration, I would suggest go quickly through the first 6 lecture slides. Don't try to understand what it says, but just look at visualizations in there. Something jumps at you and say, hey, maybe that, I think I can put it in that format. So that's kind of to get it going. So, and then you try a few things. Pick the best one that you found, that you designed, and turn it in. I don't want you to turn in, I don't want kind of this philosophy where we're going to throw 10 things out there, see what it sticks. If somebody who looks at it likes choice number 1, and somebody likes choice number 3, and somebody likes choice number 5. So you need to use your judgment and just put one solution out there. That doesn't mean a single picture. It means one solution. So an example of 2 solutions would be, here is one using just red color, and here's one just using blue color. Well, that would be exactly, if they're exactly the same thing and just minor changes, don't pick one and put it in there. But you may have a general view, and then you may have a detailed view, or however you design it. Or you may have, you may break it down into smaller pieces and say, here is the first view, and you can look at the second view if you don't like the first one, and things like those. Not if you don't like, if you need more information, here is where you would find it in the second visualization. And if you need even more information, you can find it in the third visualization. So just pick one and put it there. And I'm asking if you actually see multiple things that are exactly the same, or not exact, but very close to each other, not just pick the weakest one. That's what I'm going to ask the reviewers to do when we get to the reviewing part, which is going to be starting next Monday. I kind of believe in putting the thing twice, but I'm saying the same thing here. Use only the data from the table. We identify the columns, and all of them are of interest this time, except those references. You may need to take the data from table, reformat it. There are ways, I think newer version of Excel can even import that table directly. Somebody showed it to me last semester. But it may not be in a format that the visualization tool really likes it. So put them in a suitable format. For example, some things here may be multiple. So this is Linux and OS X. This is Linux, Mac OS, Microsoft Windows. So some of them may have 2 or 3 things. So it satellite, aerial, close range. Somebody UAS stands for basically drones, unmanned aerial systems, sometimes called UAVs, vehicles, unmanned aerial vehicles, and drones. But you can see that it depends on how this is not in the best format for a visualization tool. It may have to be reformatted. You can derive additional columns if you feel like it, based on the information that's already there. So for example, based on the information here, you can say platform 1, only one of them. This one supports 2 platforms. This one supports 1. This one supports 1, 2, 3. So that would be the numbers 1, 2, 3 will be derived. Or you can count how many yeses they have, and say Metashape has 4 yeses. Somebody asked me, can we delete? No, not really, because remember, the managers want to see all of this information. They deemed it useful, so definitely do not delete. You can have kind of simpler view, more detailed view, but at the end of the day, all of it needs to be shown in a picture or another that you have in your submission. Okay, so even if you're using a tool that's dynamic, just to, again, to have a level playing field and everybody kind of knows where we are, and you don't have to download software to look at submissions, just take snapshots of your solution and explain as needed. That would allow somebody to use them. In other words, I don't think anybody would be interested in how you built that necessarily. So there's a little bit of how should I put it? This is going to be reviewed, and everybody looks at them, and the top 2 kind of get 4 points. The next, they're going to be ranked, not necessarily give, and then you get the point. So you want to be ranked high. You want to make sure that the visualization you created has some explanation, people understand how to use it. On the other hand, you don't want to give them 20 pages to read, because they're not going to like that. So use your judgment to kind of keep a balance between too short and too little. And the other thing I tell people, you're all students, and some of you actually have day jobs, so this is on top of the day job. So do assume that the other people are going to look at it at 2 a.m. and review this at 2 a.m. So keep it simple but clear, short but enough for them to understand what's going on for a reader, without having to read 3 pages, you know. But on the other hand, they shouldn't be lost in looking at a picture and not understand what it is. So put enough information for it to make it clear. So find that sweet spot between too much and too little, and use some widely used formats, Word, PDF, possibly even PowerPoint, things that people can kind of click on it and it pops up, rather than having to download information. So make it easy. 2 a.m. review. They will look at it at 2 a.m. Think of it that way. Yes?
So we can use Word or PDF to do our chart, right?
You could use, yeah, you can use Word to do the chart. But what I'm saying, at the end of the day, whatever you use, take a snapshot, put it in a Word or PDF.
So we don't have to use what's in
You don't have to use what's in the visualization tool. Again, there's probably things and there's probably other things that are useful that I can't, not only that I can't think of anything, but the field evolves. So there may be a tool that was just popped up last year. Think about, it's not as hot as AI, so it's not like another new company every day, but still, they still make new ones. All I'm saying, make it easy for other students to look at what you submitted. That's all I mean by Word and PDF. 2 a.m. and easy to open. I kind of try and force you to keep it anonymous. Now, if you ask KGB and CIA, they have ways of putting information. I don't know. I'm not asking you to become a detective and try to find. Just don't put your T number anywhere obvious or your name anywhere obvious in there. So make sure it's kind of anonymized as much as you can tell, as much as a normal reviewer would tell. The other thing is don't submit a Google Docs link, for example, things that you control. Just if you use Google Docs to make it, save a copy and then upload it on Blackboard. But a link is not appropriate because you can change it at any time after. And it's kind of, it's not going to work. And I want to be able to maybe access it 2 years from now. And you may have to take it down. If you have an interactive visualization, you could optionally, so basically I'm saying, you're not going to be penalized for having a link to an interactive things, but that is the icing on the cake. Make sure you have the cake first. So make sure the cake exists. Everything else is optional. And again, think about 2 a.m. reviewers. They might not be in the mood of clicking on a link to load something that may take some time. The other thing is, please turn in something. You lose a lot more points with nothing. If nothing is turned in, there is no way for me to allow you. Blackboard automatically thinks you're not participating. It's not going to let you review. So you're losing 20 points right there. Even if maybe I can hack it a little bit, which I don't want to do necessarily, that 20 points will be gone. So do submit something. The way you'll see the way the grading criteria works, you lose a lot of points not turning in something. So after the deadline, so that's going to be, I'll talk more about next Monday, but just to kind of get you ready, like I said, try and make it clear, because what I'm asking people to do is rank it on how clear and completed they describe that software, that table, basically. So top ones, the top 2 ones get 4, the next 2 get 3, and so forth. And there'll be 7 reviewers for each. So it's not the same person who is going to look at it. And some people may get really good visualizations to look at. Some people may get really bad visualizations. So the ranking may be, you may get 4 in one case and you may get 2 in another, just because of whatever else people looked at. I'll also, and again, not that important right now, add a short comment. I'll talk more about it next time. And here's kind of the criteria if you want to look at it again. Like I said, the most important thing, make it complete, make it clear, make it simple. At the same time, people understand what they're looking at and how would they use it if they want to look at that information. So that is, and that is all I had for this homework. Like I said, next Monday, we're going to talk a little bit about evaluation, more detail. And then 2 weeks from today, well, a little bit more. I need to kind of go over. I do a little bit of quality control, but generally I don't change the things that you get in the review, unless it's something obviously completely wrong. And usually I just take it out of the calculations and still have something there. So So that's, I think I'm reaching the end. Talked about homework, talked about project, article presentations. Please keep sending me if I haven't approved you yet and you're a graduate student or taking the course at graduate level. Find that article and send it to me. One thing I will ask all students, and again, I explained it a little bit back why, just to make sure we have the article and just to make sure if it changes to a paywall in 2 weeks, we still have the article. I would ask you to send me the actual PDF. Most of these, 90% of them do have a PDF that you can download and give me. If you can't download it, then find something else. It's not worth paying money for them if they're behind a paywall. There's plenty of articles that should be in the kind of freeware realm. And do send it to me and I'll approve it, or I'll get back to you and say, hey, here is, need to look for more, because I'll give you the reason why I don't think it's a good match. And maybe that there's another student who's trying to present it, or maybe there's too little information in there, kind of going through 20 different things, but only spending 1 page on each, and we're not going to understand much, and so forth. I'll try and kind of help with that. That's pretty much the end of the announcements.